Ready, ready. Huh? Uh-huh. Very feo. Invalid Void, how you doing? Doing fine. Doing okay. Trying to find more issues with this version to see if it's safe to use. At least for me. Other than that, nothing much really. That's not good. Okay. I got my key bindings mixed between Seavers and Blunder now. This is slightly annoying. Kind of just learning how to model. I get tired of that done tutorial, so I kind of just started messing around on my own. That's probably the best way to go about it. That's the way that I went about it back in the day. I never actually did it on a tutorial. That said, I have recommended people to actually watch that tutorial. Well, because I know that most people need some type of like instruction. Um, for them to be able to learn properly. But me, I didn't, like me personally, I didn't find much use for that tutorial for me, I mean. And just using Blender is fine. Like you don't need to use ZBrush to, especially nowadays. Like Blender has come a long way. ZBrush is still better at sculpting in general, and like faster and more powerful. But if you don't need to go to the tens of millions of polygons, Blender is gonna be it's gonna do just fine. Now, whenever you're going into again that territory, yeah, like ZBrush might be a little bit better. It also depends on how powerful your PC is. If you have a pretty beefy PC, oof, I'm sorry. She'll say probably like the beefier your PC is, the less you need ZBrush. But the more you will benefit from having ZBrush. Does that make sense? Assuming that your target, like your goal, is to sculpt. If you don't care about sculpting and you're doing mostly modeling and box modeling and stuff like that, voxel modeling, whatever you want to call it, no, you don't need ZBrush for anything. ZBrush can still be useful for some things, but the usefulness of ZBrush doesn't justify the price tag. Anyway, been doing 3D for probably around 6 years. I've used ZBrush and Blender extensively. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Alright, the thumb's still messed up. The donut tutorial was very useful, knowing the key bindings to make the workflow a little bit faster, but to me, it was just too boring. It's too, like, yeah, I can, like, if you already have an idea in mind of what you want to be working on, the donut tutorial can be boring. I feel the donut tutorial is mostly there as an introduction and to help people kind of like get an idea of the things that they could probably do with 3D and with Blender. But again, if you've already made up your mind, then I can see why the donut tutorial might be boring. Let's see, what do I want to do here? They want to change, hold up. All right, there we go. I think that's probably a little bit better for me. I was fixing something on my OBS. What are you working on right now? Is this just something you want to make, or are you working on commissions? I used to work on commissions back in the day, but eventually I stopped doing those a couple of years ago. Now I'm mainly and only do Patreon. So I make models for printing, and this month we are gonna be working on Tough and the Duchess from Night Rain. That model, like the Duchess, is already made because I made that model last year, I think. But it was never made for printing, so people want it for printing now. So we're gonna prep that for printing, and then we're also gonna be working on a new Tough model that I still need to pose. I need to do everything, and yeah. Right now, though, my main objective is just test out the 5.2 version to see if it has uh, anything that might make me want to be like, oh, you know what? Let's give it a go. I normally use Blender 3.3, and yeah, that's basically what we're doing right now, testing things out, seeing if I can find any issues. Because like Blender versions, every single update, it always brings new issues. It gets rid of some of the issues, it worsens some of the issues, and then it adds new issues. And at the end of the day, it all depends on which issues are you okay um living with. No, no, tough, like tough as in like TOPH from Avatar, tough. The blind the blonde lady. No, no, I'm sorry, English is not my first language, so maybe I mispronounced something. Spanish. Yo hablo el español. Let's see. All right, let's see. Okay with those hands. I don't love them, but I think they might look a little bit better once I merge them with the body. I've tried learning Spanish, but it's difficult because most of my friends only speak English, and the ones that do speak Spanish are kind of, what's the word? Or kind of what? All right, let me see. Tough. What exactly is happening with your hair? Looks like it's just a big, massive bun. How does that even work? Allow. Let's see. I get with stop using your American accent. I get here with stop using your American accent where you sound like a white boy and don't really. So, okay, I see how it is. Dude, I feel like messing with people because they have an accent is like a little bit too low, uh, especially coming from Latinos. Like Latinos have such a thick accent, such a very, very clear accent. Like, brother, come on. It's very difficult to get rid of your accent entirely. Right, I think I'm gonna open up here ref and set up like a proper reference gallery for it. Pure ref. Maybe yourself. Yeah, yeah, no, no. Like it makes it completely like it ruins everything for you when if you're trying to learn a new language. Oh, I messed up. Oh, all right. Where is it? This file? I move files from one disk to another, and oh. But yeah, I mean, dude, like if you really want to learn like Spanish or any other language, there's other places where you can go and try to learn. I started to pick up Japanese last year, at the beginning of the year, and I ended up joining a VR chat world where people, it's like a hub where people meet up to learn English and Japanese. So, I mean, maybe you could look into something like that if you really want to learn Spanish or any other language. You're the code at 3D Anime. Thank you so much, ReZero. How you doing? So, is it in 2024? Maybe 2025? Invisible Girl. When did I make Invisible Girl? I think maybe it was in February. Yes. There we go. I found the file. Yay. Didn't even think about that? Yeah. Yeah. And now, like in those worlds, you're not really gonna run into people that are going to be messing with you because you have an accent. Because everybody there has an accent. Everybody there is trying to learn a new language. let's see if I can like hear lose. See if that's a thing. I don't know if hear lose is the one that I want to go for. I mean, maybe it is. I guess we can go with the bun, suppose. Most of the references have that. Anyway, flip a coin. Flip a coin for what? Oh, for to choose which hair I want to go with. That I can go for both because the hair bun is just this, which is a bun. I just need to add a little bit of detail to that, but these shouldn't be too difficult. Um, right now I'm gonna need to try to H this face up because I just realized that it's a little bit too yeah, it's not that difficult to go for both. I wouldn't go for both for printing, maybe. But yeah, it's not that complicated. Right, so I do have a problem here, because this is supposed to go... How is this supposed to go, actually? What is this supposed to be? Is this supposed to go all the way? It doesn't look like it's supposed to go all the way. Right, so let's move these back a little bit. Right, now let's go for these and find. Where's the eyebrows? Hello? Where'd it go? How you doing, Vicious? Where'd it go? It's not these, it's not that, not that. Plane 2, it's not that. Plane, there we go. What are you guys doing there? Combined. There we go. Try bind it again. Let's see, valid void. I'll see you've been following me for a while, but you're a first time chatter, so I'll just, repeat it and make it clear. Like if at any point you see me do something and you'd like to know what it is, again, feel free to ask. I don't mind people asking questions. Okay. We want to make perhaps... Oh, Vicious, I fixed the issue that I was having yesterday. Remember that I was complaining about things being deselected? Yeah, I found the issue for that. It was an add-on. It was a plugin that I installed. So it's fixed now. Now I have another issue that my settings for the strength of the brushes keeps resetting every time that I close software. I have no idea what's happening there. Um, so this is already bound. What's that? A key shape, shape key. So you're working on one of your models over a while ago, but I was always doing something or another because the dogs and or the kids that they had like it's like the first day in 2 years where there's nothing going on. No, I see. I see. The planets have lined up. Gotta love the little jank with softwares. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal because I don't really change too many of my settings. But I'd still like to know. I'd like to know what's going on there. Then the sculpting is dead to me past the so-called brushes update. They ruined the script. They did ruin the script brush. Yeah, I made many functions like pivot to vertex and masking, and just generally feel fragile compared to 3.6. I don't know about the other things. Pivot to vertex. I don't think I've ever used that. Pivot to active. I don't think I've ever used this because normally I just use this one. But they did ruin the for brush. And it's weird because the brushes, like most of them behave. So if, well, no. But yeah, like they ruined it by making it so you have to now do a stroke. Because before, like in Blender 3.3 or I suppose 3.6, um, you could just click and it will do the thing. Now you have to do a little bit of a drag. Which is it's annoying. And I've been like yesterday I looked through some of the options to see if there was any way that I could actually make it so it didn't behave like that. But I couldn't really find anything. That super lags. Oh no, dude, like the brushes are both for the most part I feel like brushes are better in Blender than in ZBrush. With some exceptions, of course. I feel there's another thing they changed. I don't know, maybe misremembering, but I feel the smoothing was a little bit stronger in 3.3 for high poly detailing. No. So I wouldn't say that everything is better in Blender. There's quite a few functions that servers have that are way better in servers than in Blender, like the I believe it's called micromesh. How you doing, Docs? Micromesh is way better in ZBrush than anything that you can do in Blender. Also, the crease to curve options are extremely useful in ZBrush. The curve brushes are significantly easier to use in ZBrush than in Blender. with some exceptions. But for the most part, they're better in ZBrush. Let's see what else. The clay polish option in ZBrush is goated. What else can I think of right now off the top of my head? Just for sculpting, mind you, because like if we go to other if we want to go to other areas, I can think of more things. But just when it comes to like sculpting and sculpting tools, um, the back face mask is better, functions better in ZBrush versus Blender. Let's see, what else can I think of? Do you have anything to add, Nox? Trying to think. Oh, the combo. We're talking about things that Blender does better than ZBrush, and ZBrush does better than Blender in terms of the sculpting, without taking into account like super high poly count. It's very intimate of some functions that straight up don't exist in Blender. All of the things that I've mentioned, except for clay polish, no, even clay polish, all of the things that I've mentioned, they have an equivalent in Blender. Like clay polish, it's under filters, and it's I believe it's enhanced details. Um, the clay buildup brush in ZBrush feels significantly better than in Blender. And I'm not even talking about custom brushes. Because if we go to the custom brushes territory, then I mean that we're having a whole other conversation. And mind you, like I sculpt in Blender. I don't sculpt in ZBrush. But I do remember sculpting in ZBrush because that's how I learn. I learned with ZBrush. And even after all these many years since, I swap from ZBrush to Blender, I mean, dude, you gotta recognize that there's a lot of things that ZBrush does that are significantly better in ZBrush. Mind you, a disclaimer, I suppose. Like these things are, I don't think it's worth the entry fee. I don't think it's worth $50 for you to get these features. You get like Blender is perfectly decent, but again, to say that Blender is better, it's a little bit of a stretch. I can't say that I hate super sculpting. There's a few things that I dislike. And the main thing that I dislike, it's like if you're really something indie, you have to go around the borders and like click there and drag there if you want to rotate the model. While in Blender, you can just do it like, anyway, without having to do all that because the key bindings are different. I did Series not too long ago on stream. I remember saying in comparison, Blender feels like you're moving circles, whereas in ZBrush feels like you're actually sculpting clay. It feels like you're moving in circles. Well, I mean, I suppose I can agree with that because I very rarely actually sculpt in Blender. Like if we want to go with the actual definition of sculpting, because all I do is I just use the move brush, which the move brush is way better in Blender than in ZBrush. And I use the crease sharp, which it's also way better than in ZBrush. So I very rarely use these, mainly because I don't like it. I don't like the feeling of it. I like Sirius's better, but also because I don't feel like I need it. Very rarely I actually sculpt. Like every now and then, like if I'm working on a very muscular character, I maybe, I'll add a little bit of play build-up. But for the most part, I just do anything but sculpting. Dude, I'm trying to understand these hairband things she has. I don't know if it goes all the way. It doesn't look like it goes all the way around. Nux, which version of Blender are you using right now? 5.2. Well, if you want to backseat, please do so. If you feel like there's something that I should check out, please let me know. I'm coming in blind, so I don't know which like new features have been added that could be useful. And yeah, if you want to backseat a little bit and tell me like, hey, you should check this out, feel free to do so. I don't like the navigation in ZBrush. The navigation in ZBrush sucks. And uses a space mouse to avoid using that. Well, I mean, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You don't need to use a space mouse. It's like it sucks as in like Blunders is better, but like it's not that bad. DS to increase size or space. I very rarely use. I don't remember using space. I do use S. I'm okay with that. It's the same as pressing F in Blender. UI is shit, but it's not your English. The UI is not shit. Saying that the UI, like if you say that Blender, like that ZBrush's UI is shit, you have to say that Blender's UI is shit. Because both of them are incredibly unfriendly. As you know, whenever the default is incredibly unfriendly. Both of them. You can't say that one's shit without saying that the other also is. I use custom UIs for both for a reason. And it's because they suck. Both of them are really bad. I don't understand how this button works, dude. This is the thing that I hate about 2D. Holy fuck, that's loud. I accidentally opened like a tab on my browser that had music. Luckily, you guys don't like that. You can't hear the music, but fuck, it was loud. Or did you guys hear that? I suppose you guys heard that because the music tab is open. I don't know. Holy fuck, that was loud. Where's my pure ref, dude? The positioning of the options are bad in both and necessarily require customization, but ZBrush is like Chinese with their naming and random positioning of things. I don't think I agree with that. Hey, Magaku. Yeah, 3D for a little bit. I wanna, keep figuring out if I like this or not and if I run into any issues. Uh, so I can hopefully for once, and also, I'm trying to hopefully for once, uh, finish things early. How you liking 5.2? I don't have many complaints as of right now. The main complaint that I had, I already fixed. But yeah, I don't think I necessarily agree with you there, Nazi. I don't think I think the naming convention for ZBrush is it's very intuitive. I don't remember having any issues with the naming convention when I was learning. But maybe it's an issue that people have whenever they go from Blender to ZBrush. In my case, whenever I learned, when I learned ZBrush, I didn't know anything about Blender, so I didn't have any preconceived notion of what should or shouldn't be. So, did I nuke all my emotes? No, no, they're there. You only have 5. You know what I think might have happened? Uh, your sub ran out. Well, thank you. Yeah, remember last time I gifted you a sub because I was talking to you and you got an ad break. Also, I don't know about full swap yet, Magaku. It depends. I'd be okay with doing a full swap if, let's see, what will make me do a full swap? Um, what will make me do a full swap? Can I have to since I nuked my Blender folder, so I might as well just stay in 5.2? I mean, you don't have to. Which version of Blender have you been using? 3.3. 3.3, but I've tested 3.6, I've tested 4.0, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.5. And every single time I was like, this is shit. Mainly because they broke so many things with EvenX. Like, well, they got rid of Eevee, and then they didn't fully develop EvenX when they released it. So it still had a bunch of issues. Like, for example, when I tried 4.5, it had a big issue with transparency. Would you be able to send me the skin shader? No. No, I do not share my shaders, Viren. But yeah, when I was, streaming 3D constantly, um, I was, I always tested new versions on stream. Oh, I just realized something I might have fucked up. I fucked up big time because I made a few changes to things. I forgot that I have saved this. I've saved. Oh fuck. Well, it is what it is. It's already the damage has it's already been done. I already overrode it. How to remove shadows yet? They removed it. How to remove shadows yet? I guess I haven't actually. I haven't really gotten to that. Let's see. It must be on settings. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, shadows. Just click on shadow. Gotta check out my new dress I planted these. Trees? Or is tres a kind of tree? Or a kind of plant? But yeah, you just click here. It's unintuitive because you have to enable it. When it should be the other way around. Like this should be enabled because now you're allowing the shadow, you're enabling the shadow, and then you click on it and then you disable it. Can I rebind it? We'll be able to. You can add to quick favorites. You can assign a shortcut. I don't know if it's going to actually obey that, but it's not something that I need to quick bind because I use it for very specific things. But at the very least, you should be able to just add it to quick favorites if you need to. What would you like to see in 5.2 that 3.3 has? Things that they remove. The post library. The old post library, not the new post asset bullshit. Um, I'm trying to think. Hold up. I like to get back the functionality of some brushes, like the thing that we were talking about, the scrape brush. It used to be able to click and it will take effect in 3.3 or in 3.6, as Nealty told me. But now you actually have to do a little bit of a dragging motion for it to work. So that sucks. I really, really dislike these. I want to have them back here. I do not like this at all. These feels like clutter. There's a bunch of brushes here that they do not need to exist. They do not need to be here. They do not need to exist. Like all these different brushes for painting, they do not need to exist. Yeah, we do not need any of these. We do not need another brush, like another brush for crease when all they're doing, it's just changing the fall off. I still have it up a little bit because sometimes I do search for things. Well, I have it up for now while I'm using, Blender and actually realizing what I actually use because I do not have it at the top of my head all the time. But what I'm doing now is that I'm just adding them to quick favorites. So yeah, like this I really dislike. Hmm. I have mixed feelings about this, about the way that they ended up going for this. I like the menu, that like the big drop down menu that we had before. I feel they could have kept that, and just add a search function, and it would have been great. Because now everything is in categories, and I've never once paid attention to the categories. Now this is a minor nitpick because you could just get used to it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not something that is going to make me like, oh, the software sucks because of this. Um, them getting rid of Eevee was a problem that I had before when EvenX wasn't finished. But now that it seems that EvenX has been finished, I'm trying to find issues. I'm trying to find I'm stress testing basically. I'm trying to find things that might be wrong with EvenX that made me go like, oh, you know what, this sucks. This is really bad. The last issue that I'd had was with transparency back when I think it was June last year. That the transparency was really bad at the time. And if I wanted to have, smooth transparency, I'd have to bump up the resolution, like the samples, and that would end up making my renders take a lot longer. Now it seems like it's okay. I think, do I have it in backup? No. I made one here. Hold up. Where's my material? Oh fuck! Really? Well, that sucks. It got deleted. I gotta make it again. So now, like, this is what it was before. There we go. So now it works fine because there wasn't any like blend method, right? The blended method, like the one in Blender, the old versions of Blender in Eevee, where it wasn't noisy. But now we have this, and it's working fine. It seems. What is that? Oh, okay. All right, all right. I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. But yeah, like the transparency now seems to be working just fine. I feel this is incredibly unintuitive. I'd like transparent shadows. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand. Like, what's the point of all of these? Like, why have these split on two different things? You know? But yeah, it's okay. I'm not a huge fan of the new BSDF node. Like, I don't like it, and to this day, I think find it annoying that this is all um collapse. Mind you, it's like all these options. I do not like. I don't get it, dude. I doubt. I really don't think that many people actually make use of every single option here. And like, I get it. I understand. Like, why would you have things not collapse if you're not gonna use them? But at the same time, it's like now they made it so it's actually bigger and like more. It has more options than the previous BSDF, which could be a good thing, but for the most part, I see it as a bad thing. Other than that, dude, I don't think I have off the top of my head, mind you, I don't think I have many complaints as of right now. We'll see. I do dislike some of the changes they made for the key bindings, like for example, like this thing, the lasso tool. The shortcut for the lasso tool now it's Control Shift right click. You can change that. I changed it, so it was the same as 3.3. The remeshing, like this thing, they changed that as well to just R. I changed that to be the default. Um, yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else. I'm sure something will come up. I haven't checked the compositor though. The compositing, I haven't checked these to see if they change anything of what I use. I don't mind. I don't really care too much about additions, about things they add to the software. I get annoyed when they remove things from the software. Because if we go here, like vertex paint, still a thing. Like this is still a thing. I wonder if it's still as clunky. Is it still clunky? Where's the paintbrush? Yeah, dude, it's still clunky as fuck. Like even if you give it a go, you can feel that it's clunky compared to sculpt mode. So I do not understand why we still have vertex paint. You know, I don't get why we still have Dyn Topo because it hasn't been developed in I don't know how many years. This Dyn Topo has been completely abandoned, but we still have it. You know, then why remove my post library? Suppose it's just that's just something that I'm salty about. Like, dude, what do you have to remove my post library if you're keeping all these old technologies? You don't think you ever used it? What Dyn Topo? Dyn Topo was very, very, very popular back in the day. Until they overhauled the way that sculpting worked. Because Dyn Topo was the only way for you to have decent-ish sculpting in Blender back in the day. Because you could decide where the topology was gonna be. Now you don't really care about any of that. And Vertex Paint was the only way for you to add Vertex Paint before they added painting to sculpt mode. It hope it stays in turbo mode now when toggling in and out sculpt mode, which is a nice little update. Yeah, but the point of Dyn Topo has been lost. Like Dyn Topo, there's no need for anybody to use Dyn Topo anymore, especially now with the new versions of Blender that they have improved the way that the processing of polygons is, and points is done. So now you're actually fine sculpting in higher resolution meshes. So like there's no reason for anybody to actually use Dyn Topo outside of them being used to using Dyn Topo, because that's how they learned. Hell, they added that to ZBrush back in the day, and most people don't even use it. Not even, I mean, I say back in the day, but it was a few years ago, but most people don't even use it because there's no need for it. I'm sure there's someone that has found some use for it, but for the most part, you don't really need to use it at all. One thing, going back to the like ZBrush versus Blender thing, I don't find it comfortable to sculpt with mouse in ZBrush. Well, it's incredibly comfortable to sculpt with mouse in Blender. So I guess that's one thing. That's not to say that it can be done, because I've known people that sculpt with mouse in ZBrush, but I tried it and it's not as comfortable. How did it tumble or whatever it's called? The tumble or whatever it's called. I don't know what you're talking about. The tumble. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. When you move the model in Blender, it kind of just rotates around the. Oh, okay, no, yeah, that's not great in ZBrush. Like the rotation happens whatever you have the pivot point, and the pivot point is very easy to set up. Because like right now it's happening from like this point here, but if I move it here, now it's gonna happen from that point. If I move the pivot point to this plate, it's gonna happen from here. And just to show what I'm doing, like the pivot point, if I move it like to the shoulder, now it's gonna rotate from the shoulder. And then if you have it set to, the center, it's going to rotate around. And then you can actually like focus the camera on it very easily, which is not something that you can comfortably do in the in ZBrush. And another problem that ZBrush has, and this is something that I know ZBrush users have complained about, because I complained about this myself back before, back when I was only using ZBrush, and I've since then talked to people that only use ZBrush and they still they also complain about this, and it's the fact that in ZBrush, if you start as like a stroke from the outside, like in Blender, nothing happens, you can actually start the stroke from like anywhere. In ZBrush, the rotation is done with left click instead of the middle mouse button. So sometimes you're going to try to rotate and you're going to actually accidentally, if you miss the border, you're actually going to accidentally do a stroke. Or sometimes you're going to be trying to do a stroke and accidentally you're not going to actually hit the model, so you're going to end up rotating the model and do a stroke I don't know where. All right, let's turn these off. I'm going to separate these two things, right? And can we? Oh yeah, that's something that I need to fix. Hold up. Preferences. Select key binding, key map. Oh, linked. Select linked. There we go. So now we're gonna go. Everything's gonna be Alt A. Select link. Select link. Link. Select link. Select link. All right, still it's not working there. Where's that again? Where's that one? Can it mesh? Oh, it's because okay, let me just restore everything because I need to then get rid of deselect. Right, so deselect. Actually, I'm just gonna go for Alt A. Alt A. There we go. For the limited time I used it, but Blender just feels better. Yeah. Yeah, Blender feels better. Well, it's not so much that it feels better, it's just like overall, right? Overall, it feels better. The actual sculpting feels more like sculpting in ZBrush, but it isn't just that, right? Like navigation is a very important thing, and navigation is better in Blender than in ZBrush. Deselect all, deselect all. Where's the curve? Deselect all, curves, curves, sculpt, expand, that's fine. Mesh, there we go. So now we can actually go to, is it like Control L or just L? Hold up. If I, what do I want to do here? Yeah, it's probably just L. E binding, select link in mesh. Where's that? Mesh, mesh, mesh. In curve, we actually, you know, I'm gonna go Control A for both. Yes, 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 and yes. There we go. A lot better. Let me default save started file. Yes. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is that, and now I'm gonna also kill these things. Wait. Now we want to go mask, and then this. There we go. A lot better now, because now I can actually properly work on the. But anyway, ultimately though, in the ZBrush versus Blender debate, the main thing that drags ZBrush back, it's the fact that it's $50. let's welcome back. Get away the weeds and grass from the trees and plants. Getting oh boy, my eyes are getting a little bit sore. Uh, something's been hardcore eating the leaves, so I'm gonna make a spray later. With whatever it's on the cherry willow trees. Are you living in Stardew Valley? Because I mean, it sure as hell sounds like. Our chickens a few years ago. Are you living in Stardew Valley? I mean, it is unfortunate, but it does sound a little bit. It does sound like a little bit like you're living in Stardew Valley. Poor chickens. The personal story for the stream, yeah. Gotta get some roosters or goose to protect your chickens. Here, is that a thing? Like, do roosters can actually square off with hawks? Really valid for a while, and it was nice. But what's really bothering me was your character pass out at 3 a.m. whenever you are. I mean, that also happens to us though. So it's not so unrealistic, I suppose. Yay, muscles. My muscles are getting bigger. Dead by snoo snoo. Just call the muscles now. At this point, this is just kind of like what I do. Like, all of like, you can't actually get all these muscles. This is stylization, like a little bit of an extra thing that I add to it. And, you know, eventually I will smooth things out and they're not going to be as visible. You just create a little bit of a volume. You been doing all that after Retopo? As of right now, I'm just testing things out. I'll do Retopo, but I'd like to you know, again, test things out a little bit more. Hey, Rebel, what's up? It's been a long time since I've dropped in on stream, 2022, perhaps. Hope you're doing well. I mean, I'm doing okay. I am doing okay. I'll be doing a lot better in about 2 or 3 weeks when these freaking heat waves stop hitting my place, but or where I live, I should say, rather. But yeah, for now, doing fine, doing okay. Nothing too much to report, I think. Whew. Was it at 1 before? I don't remember. It's like it's super right now. Was it a 0.5 maybe? Was it at 0? Yeah, I think it was at 0. Sun's coming out. Wait, what? Is it coming out for you? are you still up, Magaku? You haven't gone to bed? It was cloudy. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I was about to ban you. I go to bed. So cloud is what? Cloud is nuts. So for anybody that I don't know knows tough, it's does her bun work like this? Like everything goes to a center here, or is it just like a like it's like a swirl? What do you guys think? Vicious, you seem. How do you say 102 degrees in 102x in Spanish? Es siente dos huevos. Funny. Get it? Because in Spanish you say that you feel into X. An X in Spanish, it's another word for a dick. So you're saying that you feel two dicks. Ha 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 ha. You're so funny, Mogaku. Just one hundred bun. Yeah, yeah, but like, do you think the bun is going like all around to the center, or it's just kind of like a big swirl? Given how long her hair is in some of the pictures that I see where she has it down, you kind of feel like it's more of a swirl instead of the bun going into the center. But I don't know. The fighting game and see if they show. Oh, right, she's in a fighting game. Wait, but isn't that game hand painted? I don't know. I haven't really seen too much. Not a fan of the game. The movement's a little clunky. Usually not a fan of those games. The main reason why, like those fighting games, that's the reason why I'm not playing uh Dokkan, whatever it's called, the new Marvel fighting game. I feel they are all the same. It's all about take your enemy to the border and then unleash your combo there and lift them up and make them bounce one time because you have one free bounce and repeat the same combo over and over again. When giant blob on her head. Yeah, that's why I say that I hate 2D. Alright, I think we can give her proper quote unquote underwear now. Alright. Second is just Blast Blue. Yeah, and Blast Blue is just Guilty Gear, and Guilty Gear is just the same as Dragon Ball Z, like Fighter C, and Dragon Ball Fighter C is the same as Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is the same thing as Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Like, all of them are the same shit. Just different graphics. Situational awareness. All those games are the same. I don't say this is a bad thing, right? People that play those games, they could say that, JRPGs are all the same. It's just that I do not like. I think Melee did a number on me, right? I got into fighting games, like I really got into fighting games with Super Smash Melee. And Super Smash Melee, it's so freeing, as in like you have so many different ways to approach the fights that it kind of like spoiled fighting games for me. You know, because of all the freedom that you have in the in Melee with the DI, with the different combos that you like, that they have different reactions depending on the weight of the character and also depending on how much percentage of damage the enemy has accumulated. So it's, you always need to be adapting to a bunch of things, in normal fighting games, such as Stockholm and like again Avatar and Grand Blue Fantasy and Guilty Gear and all those character in all those games, those variables do not exist. So all you need to do is learn the one combo and wait for an opening to present itself. Yeah, it's true that there's a normal game, and it is true that you have to force some of the openings. But again, once the opening is open, then you do the same every single time, no matter who you're fighting against. Which is again why I find those games like why eventually I get bored of those games. I don't play fighting games, but as an outsider, they kind of just look like the FIFA because they are just like that, Magaku. I think it was Brawl that I really liked because they added Lil Mac. Perhaps maybe I didn't like Brawl because they did away with a bunch of the things that I'm talking about. They made everybody floaty. They got rid of a bunch of different. Um, they got rid of a bunch of different move sets. They changed a bunch of things in ways that it. No, Yummy Hustle. Never heard of that. Sixaloo. Again, I'm not trying to say those games are bad. I had Street Fighter and I played Street Fighter for about 60 hours. I had a lot of fun with those 60 hours, and that's about it. Didn't really care about playing anymore because I was ranking up, and I think I was getting out of platinum, out of plat, and I kept finding the same characters doing the same combos over and over again, and I was like, I don't really want to. I don't really want to keep taking part of this. Like, it's boring at this point. And again, I'm not trying to say that it's bad, and you better believe that once Tifa comes out, I'm gonna be playing Street Fighter. And mind you, I feel completely happy with Street Fighter. I bought the game. I played for 60 hours. I think that's more than good. Tifa Simp, yeah, sure. I mean, if it was Cloud, I will be playing as well. If it was Sephiroth, I will be playing as well. It's Final Fantasy VII. If they found a way to get Aerith into Street Fighter, I will be playing as well. But yeah, and I also play Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, I think. And how long did I play that game for? Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising, 23 hours. Still happy with that. Trapped in Hourglass, the subtle shoulder blades, and like crazy details are nice too. Thank you. I'm not sure how much of this detail we're actually going to keep because I still have to do retopo, and once I do retopo, all of this is going it's going away, and I'm gonna have to do it all over again. I just did them this time around because I'm testing 5.2. Like usually this is not the way that I work. Usually I make a base mesh, then I do retopo, then I add muscles, and then if I need to adjust anything, I adjust it. Muscle detail. But yeah, this time around I'm testing things out, so we'll see. Wait, where's the mask brush? Oh, the mask is it this one? Okay, yeah, it's this one. Why is that a last though? Like whoever made these graphics, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So the way tough here is in the show, it's all around. So the only thing that I can think of is maybe it's tucked in at the back behind her hairband. Because the hairband goes all the, oh, it does go all the way around. Okay, thank you. That was another question I had. It does go all the way around. Notice you're working below 200k poly currently. Are you using subdivision surface modifier? It's just draw sharp is really that nice at any poly count. I don't use clay buildup. I was talking about this earlier. I don't really sculpt. I can't, like, technically speaking, I don't really sculpt. I just move the mesh around and I move the mesh around, I inflate it, and I use Chris this one, Chris Sharp. I had to look at it again because I'm not sure of the names that they have given to them now. But usually my models are around these poly count. Not because I can't, like, my PC can't handle anymore. There's just no use for anymore. Here is base of the. I mean, that is, yeah. Okay, let me go. Go. Let's see if it's worth anything. Let's see. How do they how do they do that? Braids? Hold up. Right. So what I'm seeing here is like a bunch of like ribbons that they make with the hair, while Tough has just the one bun. I'll try a few things and see what I like best. I kind of like the swirl idea though, even if that's not the case. Recently, I've been feeling similar. I've been using a lot more script brush, inflate, and non-additive brushes to work for them. It feels like it makes surfaces more even too. It makes it so. How should I put this? Right? So the way that I learned was that less is more. Right? I learned by watching a bunch of people do things in, in ZBrush in YouTube. And a couple of those people, they had this approach that, well, the ideal approach, right? Anytime that you see, most of the times that you see somebody that already knows what they're doing, they're going to be sculpting in very low resolution, because adding details too early is a trap. So I learned with that mindset, and I just kind of, I don't know, dude. I just focus my workflow in just getting the shapes done. And then once I was ready to do, read topology or to remeasure at the time, then at that point I will add detail with subdivisions. But now I don't really do that anymore. I don't really use subdivision modifier or multi-res modifier. I just subdivide to the point that I want. And since Blender has shade smooth, because this is what it actually looks like. Since it has shade smooth, then we can get away with a lot of things. All right, so I realized that maybe I messed up a little bit. I don't know. I think I just keep this and keep the back open. How do you move it and inflate the mesh without warping the textures? So the textures shouldn't be warped too much, really, because the textures are basically printed into a map. So anytime that you move the mesh, the texture arc is going to be moving with it. All that said, though, if you're going to be making pretty big changes to the proportions of the character and you already have texture maps, you will most likely need to remake them in order to make them look good. Right? Texturing is one of the things that you should be doing not the very end, but close to the end. Once you're satisfied with the proportion of the character, that's when you start working on textures. If you're not sure if the proportions that you have in your characters are the ones that are going to be the definitive version of it, then you shouldn't be working on textures. Copy modifiers and materials, please. There we go. Will that count like UV mapping as well? Yeah, if you want to get textures in, like proper textures, because you will do texturing without doing UV mapping or without doing it like any decent UV unwrapping, right? I have a friend that for some of his models, when anytime that he was just making something for a render or whatever, he will just go in like into edit mode and then just I believe where's Smart UV project. I think was it a Smart UV project? I don't remember what it's called. I never used this option. Maybe it was unwrap angle base. Basically, he didn't do any UV work, and he just had a bunch of like crappy islands all over the place, and then he exported that into Substance Painter. Now, in Substance Painter, most of the people that use Substance Painter, they're going to be painting on the model, so you don't need to have clean UV maps for something like that. Now, if you want to work on something like an avatar or like a proper, like very well polished project, ideally you do have clean topology, and ideally you do proper UV unwrapping. Hi, Momo. Speaking of textures, I noticed you have a nice material for skin. Is this a custom? It is a custom shader. As far as I know, there's no... Okay, Momo, come here. All right. Um, as far as I know, Alexa, I do not think that Blender has actual materials. Like you have the materials up here for the madcaps and the studio, but for the actual shaders, I don't think Blender has actual materials. As far as I know. Let's see. But interesting how good this game mat looks and how visualize being closer to final. This is just like a random material that I threw, like, that I put together. I'm not sure if this is the actual material that I'm gonna go for. There's a couple of things that I would still add. I'd like to, add a little bit of a skin texture to the reflections. And there's some of like these areas that you can see maybe around here that are a little bit too dark that I would like to soften a little bit. But that's something that I get into. I'll get into later once I, once everything looks the proper way or the way that I want it to look. Not to mention that right now, it's going to look a little bit different because the boobs are a different mesh. Because I still want to have access to this area in case I want to change the detail. And I'm most likely not going to be adding. Dude, I'm probably going to do retopo like this and then find a way to create an area that I can quickly select to merge, to add boobs to it. I was thinking that once I finish my model, I'd export it into Unreal and work on shaders and in that. Although I don't know if that's a good idea anymore. It depends on what you want to do. Like there's many different ways of doing things in 3D, but at the end of the day, uh, the purpose is what's going to dictate what you actually need to do. And then even in that case, you have the things that you need to do, the things that you should do, and things that it doesn't really matter how you do them because you can take some liberties. It really depends on a bunch of things. It depends on what you want to use it for. And it is perfectly valid for you to set up shaders inside of Unreal if that's what you want. Which, mind you, you can't, like, you have to set up the shaders in whatever engine you end up throwing your model in. Like, you can't export the shaders from Blender into Unreal. You can export textures, and you can bake some of the shaders into the textures, but once you bake them, now they're just textures, they're not shaders. So ultimately, you will have to set up the shaders in Unreal, Unity, whatever you want to end up using. The main difference is going to be that, depending on the texture that you have, the shaders might be needing a lot of the work or barely any work. All right, let's see. So do we have something like this, which I don't think will hold up a lot of hair? Or I can go I think it's a reasonable leaving the chest hole and snapping the brass mesh to the hole and merge by distance or something better. Dude, honestly, I could just extrude them from the, double it, like from the retoupled mesh. It doesn't really matter. There's a bunch of ways of going about it. I could make the boobs and try to do what you're saying. I could just add them to it with what's the name? With just like extruding. I don't know. There's quite a few different ways for me to go about it. If I was a psychopath, I will add them with, via Boolean. Okay, so these key binding wasn't safe. Oh, I remember something. I don't know if Nux is still here, but another thing that I dislike that they move, change, remove. I don't know. Like before, you used to be able to set up the smoothness of the curve between like 5, 4, 3, 6 points. I can't find that option anymore. I'm planning on using the model for a VTuber model, and in that case, you probably want to set up this. I mean, you're not going to be setting up the shader though. Like, you're just gonna have textures. This might be a dumb question, but what's the difference between a shader and a texture? A shader is something that you can set up that it's going to be interacting with light and everything else. Now, texture, it's what's going to tell the light how it's supposed to be interacting with that thing, right? For example, if you have a roughness map, the roughness map, it's what's going to dictate how the reflections on the model are going to be looking like. Let me give you an example of that, right? So if we go here, right? I forgot to, there we go. No. Camera to view, there we go. If we go here, right? And then, for example, right now, I have this node right here under the roughness. Let me disconnect that. I'm just gonna add here, and let's add another color run. That's fine. So if I add this here, as you can see now, oh, whoops, my bad. This is the hair. Let's do that. Okay, my bad. So if we go here, so if we look at this is currently a gray texture, right? We can make it white or we can make it black. So let's start with white. So now there's barely any reflection. And then the more that we darken it, you can see how things are starting to change. You can see like over here. And then if we keep going and keep going, everything becomes more like suppose like shiny or oily. Now, if I was to add another thing, like for example, let's say a noise texture to it. Let's go for object, doesn't matter, right? Let's say we want to add a noise texture to it, you'll see that things are going to be looking a little bit different now. Right? So as you can see, now it has a little bit of a texture to it, you know? And then if let's add another color ramp, let's put that there. You know, the more that you alter it, the more different things are going to, you know, be looking. Now it's starting to have a little bit more of a skin texture, but still looks flat. Now, if we move that noise texture and we add it to a bump node into the height, and then we put this on the normal flood. Give it a moment, right? Now it actually looks like it has actual, like the skin has an actual texture to it. Like there's actual detail there, but in reality there's nothing. So I can actually keep on like messing with that. See, now this is flat. Now it's spreading around as it was, you know, as if there were pores there. And you can change the distance of things. Or again, you can just, let's add another ramp here. So, see, you can see here that now it looks, again, like there's pores, like there's an actual texture to the skin. So that's what textures end up doing, in some regards, right? Because I don't know. I suppose if you want to put it that way, you do have different types of textures. Like you have transparency maps, you have displacement maps, you have normal maps, you have roughness maps, you have ambient occlusion maps, you have texture maps. So all of those things, they do different things. Like the texture map, it's like what we call, I don't know, dude. For the sake of simplicity, let's call it just a texture map, right? So if a character has tattoo, or it has a specific type of detail to it, or maybe you just want to bake all the shadows into one single map, so you help the shader that you end up using in whatever other software that you end up using, that is basically just going to give it the color, right? The colors for the actual model. Now that's not going to be telling the light how to interact with the model. That's where we have roughness maps and normal maps. And then the ambient occlusion map is a map that basically has, it's another color map, you know, kind of. It just adds a little bit of like shadow to it. This will be ambient occlusion. You know, ambient occlusion, it's the shadow that it's produced by things being to get like close together, like where things like I suppose intersect, as you can see here. Right? If I was to, for example, let me save. Right, if I was to duplicate these, convert to mesh, hide these, duplicate these. Right. If I was, oops, my bad. Wait, is that something that no, I want to keep that. So for example, let's say I'm going to convert to mesh. We'll merge these two things. As you can see, there's still like that line there because they're not one single mesh. If we were to merge them together, let me make sure that there we go. And now it goes away. See? Now if we, oh, my bad. Maybe it's not looking like that because, there we go. Maybe it's a little bit easier to see here. Oops, my bad. Let's do a face sets, face from visible, right? Oops. There we go. See, now that we merged them, they go away because now they're not intersecting anymore. So much better than going through tutorials. I have trouble learning sometimes. That doesn't make sense to me because, dude, a lot of the times in tutorials, people just repeat the things that they've been hearing over and over again from something that they've learned instead of actually trying to understand why things function the way that they function. Seems like common sense, right? But what I mean is like if I don't know the details of what it does, how it works, I won't be able to look down on why I need to do. Yeah. That's why so many people have so many issues when it comes to 3D. That's why so many people think or believe that they need to do retopo every single time. That's why so many people quit doing 3D because they don't like doing retopo and they don't realize that they don't have to do retopo. Because if you watch any tutorial out there, every single tutorial and every single content creator that does 3D in general, it's going to tell you that you need to do retopo without explaining you why. Without telling you why you need to do retopo. They just say that you need to do it. And they will tell you that you need to do texture maps without telling you why you need to do texture maps. And they're going to tell you that you need to have clean topology without explaining to you why you need to have clean topology. Quad remesher? Yeah, but quad remesher is $100. Still cheaper than ZBrush, but still $100. If 15 for 3 months, yeah. But after that, it's $100. Or, I mean, you can always just ask Jack Sparrow, I suppose. Nobody's gonna hunt you down and you're not gonna go to jail if you download a quad remesher off of a random site, but you can just pay the 15. Well, I mean, I suppose you can just keep paying that 15. But like, how long do you need to? What you're gonna need once you get to? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6 months. No, 6 times you need to be paying that. 6 times. Probably closer to 7 times. So yeah, after almost 2 years, you're going to be paying the $100 that, you know. It's up to anybody, you know, the way that they want to go about it. I do not judge. Like $100 for something like that, for something like that is really expensive, but it is nice of them to offer it Oh, for 15 bucks. If you can't save the 100 bucks, that's escalation. Yeah. Yeah. But truth be told, though, right? So when it comes to quad remaster and stuff like that, I do not think that you should be paying for any of those things if you don't want to. If your goal is not to make a business out of it. Is there a way that you can have you look at a model I've been trying to work on and understand? Like, can I join Discord and share my screen on your off time? I mean, I do have a Discord server, but I don't know if this thing is still working. Yeah, that's my Discord server. You can join there. Every now and then I stream there. Every now and then I hang out in there. You could, if you have screenshots, you can send it in like on the whip channel. Is that still a thing? The whip channel, whip, not the whip, but there's a help and feedback channel. Alternatively, honestly, dude, you can like if you have screenshots and you can pinpoint what you don't understand or what you want me to look at in the screenshots, you can just send me a DM with the screenshots. What I don't do is I don't open other people's files. I'm more than fine with the sharing of the screen. I'm more than fine with screenshots. But yeah, I'm not gonna open anybody's file. All right, so I was going somewhere here, and I wonder if this is something that I want to. Let's see, because maybe I can do it the lazy way and just sculpt it. Okay, let's see. Right, let's add a bunch of resolution to it. Add one more subdivision level. With how things are today, it's difficult to want to open any file. That's why I want to suggest my sharing screen. With how things are today, it's difficult to want to open any. What's going on? What's happening? If you want to share, security wise, there's always someone uploading a video that. Oh well, no. In my case, it's just I don't know, dude. I don't like that because it's too distracting for me. I once tried doing that, and it just having to figure out how to navigate somebody else's file. Sometimes I just don't like it. Huh? No, thank you. Let me add a bit of stabilization to these. Bro, stabilize. It did to Seikos. You mean lose hair? Oh, Seiko. Dude, I was thinking of what's her face? Sadako. No, that's not going to work because Seikos has a she has a weird bun, like a triple stack bun. And this is just like I'm just trying to sketch things out to see if I want to go with this or if I like the other one or if I'm just gonna go with loose hair. At the moment, the idea for this model is going to be an onsen. So I feel loose hair might work better for an onsen. I don't know. But also, I know that sometimes in onsens, like some characters are portrayed having the hair up because they don't want to get it wet or something. I don't know. But also, it's tough. I have no idea how. Like, I don't know, dude. We'll see what we end up doing. Let me add a little bit more of. No, I don't like it. Yeah, no, I don't like. Yeah, see, this is what I wanted to try it out. I don't like it. I don't like how weird it is now. It's probably gonna be loose hair, honestly. I do Chun-Li buns. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my other guess, right? So the way that I do Chun-Li's buns, it's like this, right? Just going all the way around and then it goes in the center. But yeah, again, maybe it'll be better if it's just loose. Right? So let's see. Let's give it a go. If we go like this and we go like that, we move things out in a way that works. How's our business stuff? It's not good. Do you tend to do freelance for art or sell figurines printables? I might have forgotten which you prefer. I've done commissions and I've done selling printables. Right now, what I'm doing is selling printables. I'm not doing commissions anymore. I might give it yet another go, but every time that I've done it, it's always a disappointment because I just have to deal with people that are not pleasant to deal with, I guess. Um, but um, but yeah, the reason the reason that I say that it's not good, it's because it's not something that I would recommend people to get into, because it's very dependent on luck. And I mean, if it's your dream and you want to try to live off of that, and you have a safety net, and you have, you're living in a situation that allows you to not be making money, and you want to try to grind for that, sure, go for it. If you if you rely on income and you're thinking that you're going to quit your job to do something like that, I wouldn't recommend people to go with that, because well, I mean, that's what I mean by, like, having to deal with people that are not nice. Like, if you're not reading the terms of conditions for for an artist that you want to commission, I think you're not being nice, because you're not being respectful. Because at the end of the day, they just end up wasting my time. So yeah, what I do right now is I just have a Patreon, and I make printables. A little bit of a tip, a little bit of a tip for anybody that uses the mirror modifier. In most cases, just make sure that you disable merge. Just disable it. Select everything if you have multiple mirrors. Disable it, select everything, and then just copy to selected. Do yourself a favor, because once you apply this thing, then the mesh is gonna be all fucked up. Haven't been pleasant. It's interesting to hear about that. Well, now, right? There was a time that they were, and like I wrote the commission way for a long time, and I've been doing that. Like, I started taking commissions. I don't know, man. Like, many years ago. I think I started when I was 20. Um, but eventually, it's something that sometimes people were just a little bit too difficult in terms. I'll give you an example, right? Right? Thank you. I'll give you an example. One of the last times that I opened commissions, one of the first lines that you see in my Google form, it's the price. Like, hey, dude, like, the base price for a commission is X amount of money. I think last time it was 420 because I thought it was funny. And also, I was trying to filter out a bunch of people, so that's why I made them expensive as a base. So 420. That's one of the first lines. I think it's the first line in my terms in my Google form. The base price is gonna be 420. Proceeding, like, that there was a bunch more like other conditions, but that was the first one. The first person that submitted their request through the Google form, we were talking for about 2 hours until I was like, okay, so this is what you want, blah blah blah. This is what it's going to end up being. Since you want it for printing, it's probably gonna be around the 500 mark. And the guy was like, oh no, I can't do that. And I was, what do you mean? What do you mean you can't do that? And he's like, no, this is way over my budget. Like, I thought it was gonna be like $200 or something like that. And I'm like, brother, it's the first line. So you just wasted 2 hours of my time. Uh, another example of something that's annoying. This is, mind you, last time that I opened commissions, I think I got like 7 requests, and only one of them worked. Only one of them was okay, and it was okay after I told them that the first time they submitted the form, there was an issue. So they had to resubmit the form. So basically, it was 7 requests, and out of the 7 requests, none of them were actually good. Another thing that it's a requirement, it's like, hey, there's a box, it's a requirement. Please, submit references for the character, references for the pose you want, and references for the outfit you want, should that apply. Right? Because, for example, if someone wants it, like, I don't know, like the character being nude, they don't need to add a reference for, what nude means. And, thank you, Nox. And, dude, one of the one of the person, one of the people that submitted the form in the box that required the links for the references, they wrote down. This is actually something they wrote down. I have links for a Dropbox folder. Let me know if you want them. So obviously I was like, I'm not gonna deal with this person. Um, then there's other people that they just keep asking like for a bunch of things. I keep listing like, hey, this is like this thing is going to increase the price by this much. This thing is going to increase the price by this much. Keep in mind, blah blah blah. This person wanted two characters. Like he wanted like this person they wanted two characters for printing. Nude version, normal version. And I was like, I don't like going with those requests because they're way too expensive, and I have issues with money and getting paid. And I do not like it makes me uncomfortable charging someone that amount of money. So a work like that was going to end up like being around the. I think I told him that it was going to be like 1,100 euros. So I was like, I'm not comfortable charging this much. So like I can't go for something like this. I don't want to go for something like this. And the person was like, oh, damn, that's a lot. I didn't expect. And he's like, dude, you want two characters. The two characters, you want them with the outfit and the normal, like, and the new version. And you also want them for printing. Like, how much did you think that it was going to be? Especially when in the form, I have, the prices for everything. So it's just people not reading, and eventually that ended up being frustrating. And I wasn't doing it because I needed the money. I was doing it because I was trying to explore, I was trying to go back to my roots or whatever, trying to find different ways to work and see if there was something that was going to make me feel interested by doing 3D again, because I was going through a very, very bad burnout phase. And yeah, eventually I just decided that, hey, I don't want to go for any of these. There was also, mind you, like I have no problems with like hentai or porn or whatever, but there was like a person that, oh no, I want Yamato from One Piece. I was like, okay, great, and they actually submitted a reference folder, right? Now in this folder, there were like 10 different pictures of Yamato just giving a blowjob, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I don't do this type of content. Like, what are we doing here? What do you want? Because this is not what I do. And the person was like, oh no, I just want Yamato in like a bunny outfit kind of thing. And like a bunny kimono like this. And like, why didn't you add that to the, why do I need to see those references? So having to deal with those things, it just makes it a little bit obnoxious and a little bit annoying. And again, since I didn't need the money, I just decided that I wasn't going to do any of the requests that I got. It's just like things that the clients being difficult. And yeah, since I was doing it for fun, it wasn't being very fun. So I decided like, I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to do any of them. And mind you, there was a time that I've had like the majority of clients that I've had have been great. But I don't know, dude. From some time ago, I got this wave of people. Like, for example, the previous time that I opened commissions, someone wanted to commission me, and they opened up with like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your work. I really liked what you do, and I was wondering if you could do this character for me." But so if you look at my models, right, like this is not something they said. This is something that I am saying, and I didn't tell them that while we were talking. But like if you look at my models, you can have a clear idea of what type of like proportions I use, right? And what type of models I do. So this person opens up by saying that they love what I do, but immediately they go, so can you make the character not as thick? I would like her to be skinny. I would like her to have small boobs. I would like her to also like the face. I want it to look a little bit more like anime. And I was like, you don't want to commission me then. Like, you don't want my work. You want something else entirely. That was the time when I decided that I wasn't going to be taking any more commissions, and I went full on Patreon, and luckily that worked out. But yeah, at the time I don't think I was charging as much, mind you. Like most of the people that I know that was working, with commissions and stuff like that, they were charging north of like $1,000 for something that I was charging 300. So my guess was like, okay, maybe I'm getting these people because I'm charging too little. So they just trying to take advantage of that. And eventually I did raise my prices a little bit, and that worked out for some time, but again, I was just burned out from having to deal with clients. An anime artist and being like, I love your work, but could you draw this character in hyper-realistic? Yeah. Sadly, there's a bunch of people that are like that. A couple of weeks ago, I started to upload things to my Cult 3D account, and I had a model posted, like it was the STL file for printing, and I got a comment of someone being like, "Hey, so can you fix these? And like, I would like to like get this model, but can you make it so it's skinnier, like so it's not as thick and blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, like excuse me." Mind you, I'm charging $13 for that file. So this person wanted a custom commission basically for $13. And I told them no, and they were like, "Well, you don't get any money then." And they just left it they left it at that. And yeah. You don't get any money then. Have fun not getting money. I was like, dude, I don't need your money. What are you talking about? People actually just want to see if they can control you rather than actually commissioning you. It's like when people whine for Jim Lee to draw Goku in his style, and when he did, people were like, "Ew." Yeah. People are really stupid. They don't really know what they want most of the time. That's another thing that eventually, and this is not like this is not a complaint that I have about clients. This is more a complaint that I have about the business, I guess. Most of the time, people don't know what they want. They have an idea in their head, but they don't really know how to actually explain everything that they want. That's something that eventually I got tired of because, again, I did commissions for many, many years. So I got a little bit tired of all those things. I had specific clients and customers that I had been working on for a long time, to the point that they became friends of mine, that we didn't need to do any type of dance, right? I knew what they wanted, they knew what they were getting. So there was very little actual like conversation as to like how the process went. They just told me, "Hey, I want these." I made it. And sometimes they will go like, "Hey, can you make the boobs a little bit bigger?" I will make the boobs a little bit bigger, and they will be happy. Everything is happy. Everybody's happy. Everything is great. But whenever you're meeting a new customer, you're having to do you have to do these dance trying to figure out what they actually want and having to figure out how much they actually know about the business, right? So there's gonna be like, when I started taking 3D commissions, a bunch of people started like, I had to teach a lot of people how 3D worked, and I had to explain to them how 3D worked, especially like the 3D printing part. Right? Sometimes I will have like 3D printing as an optional thing, right? That people could go for, and they will apply for that optional thing. And I will be like, "Do you know that this is like $100 extra, right?" And they will be like, "Yeah, but like I don't understand what exactly it like means, like 3D printing." And I was like, "Then why are you paying? Why are you saying that you're gonna pay for it?" And I was like, "Well, like you will get the file for 3D printing, so you can get it 3D printing." And they will be, "Well, I don't have a 3D printing. Why did you want this? Why on earth would you want something that you can't get?" I'm not surprised for some of those clients' concerns occurring. Yeah, they just occur a lot. And mind you, like the let's say the lack of knowledge or ignorance, whatever you want to call it. Again, this is not something that it's the customer fault. So I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, they're the bad guys for these." It's just something that eventually, with time, it gets a little bit old, and it gets a little bit tiring, especially when you don't need to take commissions anymore, right? When I needed to take commissions, I will deal with all that. You know, I would be like, well, I mean, I need the money, so I have to do it. The moment that I started getting a significant, like, source of money from somewhere else, commissions have turned into something that I was doing for fun or extra money rather than something that I was doing because I needed the money. And at that point, I started to see how much it was burning me out to afford paying for commissions. I just give guidelines like, hey, I want this character in this post like this. The rest is artistic freedom. Have fun with it. Well, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of artistic freedom. I like to be told how they want the character and how they want to pose, how they want it posed within my style. Does that make sense? I have a style that I do not want to change. I have no interest in doing things in the style of anybody else's style. But I do like to be instructed, like, hey, how do you want the character? What kind of pose do you want? What outfit do you want for this character? And then, sometimes I will be like, hey, you know what? Like, thinking about it, I don't think this works too much. And then at that point, I will give a few options as a replacement to the idea. But now at least I have a direction. I need to have a direction. I'm not a huge fan of artistic freedom. I need to be right back though. All right, I'm back. It's a blessing when you have a client that pays top dollar for doing what you do best, whatever that might be. Yeah, and I had quite a few of those. I was lucky enough that I got, you know, and I'll tell you this, right? There was a time that I actually did not say for work content, like actual not say for work content, not just new. Um, and I'll tell you this: my best clients I met doing that. And I'm not only talking about the money that they were paying. I'm talking about, like, how it was working with them, how flexible they were, how sure they were about what they wanted. My worst client I met doing that. But there was someone that they were trying to guilt trip me, and they were trying to threaten me into, blocking them. And if I didn't block them, they were because I told them that I didn't want to work with them anymore because they were like there were some traits about their personality that I didn't like, and they threatened me to with issuing refunds on PayPal if I didn't block them. Eventually, I had to block them because they were being very annoying and insistent. But luckily, that was a one-off. I can understand that. I feel like my ideas aren't great, and I work in customer service for a decent amount of time also, so I understand that me as a customer, I might not know what would look good. I also know I have trouble with color theory, so I have more faith in the artist's ability. Dude, there was this one time. Let me go here. There was this one time I had a client. This was on the when I was doing 2D. That they wanted me. Can we change these to? Okay, there's no square here. But basically, their character had a kimono, and the kimono had some like red accents, and they wanted me to use these specific red for everything that was red, because this was her red, you know. And I was like, do you understand that what shading is? Like, do you understand that everything can't look like this? Not to mention that this is a horrible idea. And the person was very adamant. Eventually, I managed to convince them to go with something that actually worked. But yeah, I don't have any problem with people having quote unquote bad ideas, if you want to call them that, or ideas that are not good, because again, those give me directions, and once I know what the person want, I can take that to something that to whatever it is that I think might work best. Dude, I forgot that you said that it's so hard to look at when I showed the red color that someone was trying to make me use. And I was like, wait, what am I doing wrong? Because for a second there, I thought you were talking about my model. And I was like, wait, why is this so ugly? Why? No, it's my bad. I'm stupid. I try to direct clients away from bad ideas. Yeah, if they are insistent on them, I just do what they ask, but I never post the commissions on any of my accounts. No, I don't. I don't do that because that brings questions. That happened to me one time. There was a time that someone had me for reference, right? If I'm working with a client that is available, and I don't mean like available 24/7. I mean available for a chunk of hours, like every day, like maybe 1-2 hours every day. I can finish a model within 3 days. If the customer is available at all times and the idea is decent enough and good enough and clear enough, I can finish the model the same day. This person had me working on a model for 3 weeks because they were very adamant about wanting the teeth of the character, because the character had like sharp teeth, like a shark. But they were made of metal. And this was one of the first 3D commissions that I was taking. And eventually I got to the point, like, the model was almost done, by the way. Like, the only issue that we were having was the teeth. And I got to the point that, dude, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. I have no interest in, if this is going to continue being like this, I have no issues on, like, I have no interest on working like this. So I'm just going to refund you your money, because I charge upfront. Because again, I work fast enough, you know. I don't take a month to finish a model, so I just charge up front because I'm going to be working on the model pretty much non-stop until I finish it. Um, but yeah, I was, you know what? I'm gonna give you your money back. I don't want to keep working on these. And that taught me something. That taught me that that's actually an ability that you can use against certain clients. Because some clients, they really want to work with you. And the moment that they become difficult, you just have to hit them with that. You know what? I'm gonna give you your money back. I have no interest on working on this anymore. And at the moment that you say that, because I applied that to 2 other instances later down the line. The moment that you say that, they really back. They're like, no. Let's keep working. Let's finish this. It's okay. No, I understand. I get it. Like, just do things the way that you're saying. And yeah. But also, I don't like to having to apply that card. You know, 3 weeks is a while. I don't even talk to my own parents that much. Yeah, dude. And mind you, 3 weeks was. It was 3 weeks because this person was very nitpicky about things. So they were second guessing everything. That said, I'm glad that I went through that experience because it taught me something. I've been thinking about what kind of clients might be possible, whether it be individuals or studios. I've never worked with the studio, so I can't really comment anything on that. Do you find that Nazi Forward's history limited the client range you could work with, or it did not matter for some reason? I think of this often. Limited in which way? Do you find the Nazi for work history? You mean that people were concerned about me at some point doing Nazi for work content? Because if so, no, that was never an issue. Actually, one of the worst things that proportionally speaking, right? Uh, one of the worst things that I could have ever done was to get out of the Nazi for work business thing. I when I announced that, I lost for a couple of months. I lost about 50% of my income. You know, like I'm doing way better than I was doing back then, but yeah, it was a hit. It's the main reason why I don't want to go back into it. Because the problem is that at the time I was offering like everything. I was offering pinup, and I was also offering character sheets, and I was also offering chibis, but not safe for work like loot were also an option. And it came to a point where I'd say that probably 90% of what I was doing was loot, and that became kind of depressing because I also wanted to do other things. To the point that again I just burned myself out, and I stopped. I announced that I was not doing that anymore. And this is something that I've also seen happen to other people, that they have been doing not safe for work content, and they announce that they're not going to be doing not safe for work content anymore, and they just lose a bunch of their following. They lose a bunch of their patronage. They lose a bunch of supporters because it's a lot easier to bring people that like spicy things into the loot work than bringing people that like super spicy things into the normal work. Now, mind you, these presents, like, I'm sure that if people search not even hard enough, they can find it. I never bother hiding any of that because I don't really care. Um, I figured that given the content that I do, if anybody's going to commission me, they are most likely more than okay with loot content. Because what I do is like borderline, right? It's right there in that line that it's, it could be considered both things. So I've never really had an issue with commissions or anything of the kind. Mind you, again, my not safe for work content, it's not public. Most of the things that I was doing were just commissions, personal commissions for the people. So they were using them for RP, well, ERP and stuff like that. Back in the day when I was doing that, I barely had any online presence. My online presence began with 3D content. It feels double edged in the sense that it makes the audience expect it and could be hard to turn out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once you're into that world, it's very difficult for you to get out of that world. Which, hey, you might not want to get out of that world. You may end up loving it. You may not, because um. So, for example, if you care about anatomy, dude, there's nothing that is going to level up your anatomy game as doing not safe for work content. And if like not safe for work content, there's a bunch of like you have a super gigantic wild library of poses that you can go that you might not find that type of liberty in safe for work content. But at the same time, eventually it becomes a little bit tiring doing the same thing over and over again. So right now, I think I found like my happy medium. Like I'm okay with this because I do with the type of content that I make. I get people from both worlds, right? I get people from I get people from the world of that they just like kind of like spicy peanut things, but I also get people from the super lewd world. That they might look on my content and be like, I hope one day he actually joins the dark side. Some of these most technically impressive artists do it, and no, there is a lot to learn, dude. There is a lot to learn. It does. Look, dude. Even with the content that I make, which I do not think that it's super crazy, um, I do not advertise that I do this to the people that know me, right? To the people that I know in real life. Not because I'm ashamed of it. It's just I don't want to put them in a situation that they have to pretend something that to be one way or another. My some of my closest friends, they know about it because, well, I mean, they're my closest friends, so sometimes they will go to my house and they will see that I was working, and eventually it became kind of a joke. To the point that it's been years since the last time that I actually did anything like that, and they still say that they still ask about it. Polly, thank you so much for the raid, dude. How you doing? Polly raid. How you doing, Nerdy Butcher? Nerdy Butcher. Walking down the street, nerdy. I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, it just might bring up conversations that I don't really care about having. Uh, so yeah, so far, like I've been successful at like keeping my real life and my work life separated. But and the times that dad has actually like both of them have met. It hasn't been that big of a deal, but it hasn't been that big of a deal because of the type of content that I make. If I made anything that was, you know, a little bit spicier, it might be a more complex conversation that I will have to have with these people. But at the same time, not that it matters too much to me, because I have no problem letting people go. If somebody's not okay with something that I do, then they can. I mean, there's the exit. You can leave. We are from the poly rate. Oh no, how you doing, Marshall? I made the mistake of clicking start raid in OBS instead of Twitch, and my Twitch freaked out. How so? But yeah, ultimately, doing that type of content, especially publicly, it's something that you really want to think about. And I didn't do it because I wanted to do it. I did it because I was being offered money at the time, and I really needed money. So, something to keep in mind. There's people that do it because they love that type of content, and I think that's perfectly fine. And I think those end up being the most successful because, again, they like that type of content, so they just keep going with it. You claim no responsibility for what? I'll blame from our behavior goes to Polly. No, I think you're gonna be fine. It's okay. Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. What the fuck happened here? Hello? Sir? What happened here? How did I manage that? How the fuck did I manage that? Okay. So yeah, Alexa, something to keep in mind. Like the reason why you're doing it is also very important. And as long as you're not doing any type of content of that is, questionable, by that I mean like, like pedo stuff and rape stuff and all that. I don't think you shouldn't worry about anything. Just do whatever makes you happy. At what point do you feel your art career became something you could live on via freelance? I remember in the early 2020s seeing lots of growth for you. Then, but so being able to live off of something that you're doing, it's subjective to the situation that you're living at the time, right? So when I was looking, I'm not like I come from Venezuela. I live that's where I was born and that's where I live for the first 26 years of my life. And in Venezuela, like the country was really, really in a bad place. It's still in a really, really bad place. It's only gotten worse. Um, but at the time, uh, I could live off of, I don't know, dude. Honestly, maybe $100 a month was plenty of money in Venezuela at the time. So yeah, it's always been kind of subjective. But then I moved to Spain, and in Spain I definitely needed more money, more than $100 every single month. So I started to work on things in a way that will allow me to get a little bit more money. So yeah, it takes time. It's a lot of grind. You definitely need to learn how to work fast, so you don't become one of these artists that has like a 200 people queue. Um, yeah, I don't know, dude. You kind of have to just grind. If you're doing 3D, there's definitely work for you out there, or for anybody that's doing 3D. It's just that, is it going to be work that you want to do, right? Because most of the people that get into 3D, they get into 3D because they like it, because they're fun, because it's fun, because they have a passion for it or whatever. But that passion might be very, towards a very specific thing. And maybe the idea of doing Retopo for, I don't know, dude, a studio that is going to be making something that doesn't necessarily align with your interest might sound a little bit boring, but I mean, that's work. That's freelance work. That's work that you can, um, you know, do to get your bills paid. But it doesn't sound super interesting, you know? There we go. Did you unlock a new outfit? Dude, my lips are super dry. The T virus gel. I guess I'll have to check it out. Let me again save as sort of file. I think I'll be okay. I've given a lot of thought, but I always like to hear about the experience of other artists doing things their own ways admirably. So something else that you want to, I don't know if this is going to influence you in any way, but for the most part, the people that I've met from that world are nothing but great, are nothing but nice people. And it's a community that it's very embracing. And it's very easy. It could be very easy for you to meet people that do the type of content that you will be working on, and they will be. There's a high chance that they will be welcoming. And if you look at all the big names that you may find out there on Twitter doing this type of content, you'll see that they all retweet each other because it's a very supportive community. I've met some before, and the artists are usually quite nice and generous in helping. Yeah. I've met quite a few of them. Well, the ones I follow. Because while I'm not personally interested in that type of content, I do like to see other people's work. So I do follow quite a few of well, from the people that I met back in the day. I don't really I'm not really present in social media anymore. I do have my Twitter and I'm posting things every month, but I just don't hang out in Twitter anymore. I don't hang out in any social media. I suppose the only one that I hang out with in it's TikTok, and but that's basically because that's basically because I'm my wife's TV and I just play TikTok videos for her while she falls asleep. Huh? I deleted my Twitter account a long time ago, and I decided to remake it a couple of days ago. I almost deleted again a brand new account and algorithm to work off of, and I just get hit with a bunch of people being racist as fuck. I think that's going to be the default nowadays, because I believe that's where most of the the people that have those type of mentalities and the well, I mean, it's not only the racist people, right? It's toxic behavior all over the place. I've seen like again racists being racist, and I've also seen people being extremely toxic because it's way too easy to use the word Nazi nowadays. They just call everybody a Nazi. They just call everybody. They just insult everybody for whatever reason. Toxicity. Twitter is incredibly toxic. There's something interesting observing the creative ingenuity. Well, I don't know if I'm going to assume that you're talking about somebody else because you can't be talking about me because I barely done any work this stream. I'm just looking at it and like trying to find things that I dislike. Dude, what I don't like about the long hair is that now the back's covered. Don't forget to save your work, Mr. Rush. Yeah, yeah. Well, I saved the default, which I'm only doing because I'm trying to make sure that Blender remembers all the changes that I'm making. Eventually, I'm gonna have to delete the model, the base. But yeah, let's save. Not going that route leads to our growth potential. Yeah, I mean, dude, like I'll tell you as much though. Like nothing is going to improve your art level, if you want to call it that. Like actually finding someone to improve with, because I don't feel. I think that the period of time that I improved the most was when I was hanging out a lot with Pear. Pear Force One. I don't know if you know them. He's a really good 3D artist. That sadly, like when I say sadly, but it's good for him, I suppose. He doesn't really have an online presence anymore. But we used to hang out a lot back in the day, and we used to work together a lot. And I learned a bunch from him. I'm sure he learned a bunch from me. And I think that was the time that I improved the most. So actually finding someone that you can work with, not necessarily in a collaboration style, but just work alongside. It's definitely gonna help your growth. Then it can more red profile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a time that I had so that picture. It's actually like a bigger picture. There's a baby kangaroo next to it, and there was a time that I had the baby kangaroo, the baby kangaroo as a profile picture in the 2020s. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We started to hang out. I believe it was if it wasn't late 2020, it was early 2021. Gonna shower and pick up a... There we go. Getting some lunch. Yeah, Polovitz, get sushi. And send pictures. Began 3D in early 2020 and made my first game-ready character with Sculpture Topo, rig, and Unity target platform at the time. Lots of experimental things. Dude, that's yeah, that's quite a journey. Doing all those things, it's especially when you're learning, can be very frustrating. Just tie your hair? No, dude, because whenever I tie my hair, it just like there's this pulling sensation thing that I do not like. It eventually leads to like my scalp hurting and sometimes even headaches. But it is getting a little bit hot, so I try to move it around so my neck gets a little bit of, fresh air. I think I'm happy with this. Keep looking at it from different places. Um, a little bit, yeah. So I'm sorry, Noble. I'm sorry, you're probably pulling too hard. I don't know, dude. I have a lot of hair, even though like I basically like buzz cut the lower part of my head or anything but the top. I still have a lot of hair and it's heavy. So even just like I have a hairband right here, and the using, what do you call that? I don't remember what they call pins. I don't know, dude. Using anything, it just ends up pulling from one side. It's very difficult for me to actually be comfortable with a hairband or a clip. So sometimes I just let it breathe. I just let it be free. Yeah, let's say that. There was a time back in the day that wearing a beanie will fix all my issues, but also like since some years ago, even wearing a beanie makes my scalp hurt. Okay, I mean, I think next time we can just do Retopo and probably Regan, and then begin the posing. That's brutal, yeah. But dude, it is what it is. I just have to deal with this. Um, the one thing that I know what will fix all my problems, and that will be just to get a buzz cut all over. Uh, but since I started growing my hair in 2020, from kind of a buzz cut, and at this point, I just want to see how long I can, how long I can go. Especially before I start losing hair. It was a lot, and I was juggling lots of other things at the time, and because I wanted to go freelance at the time. At one point, I was studying art about 12 hours a day, 6 months straight. About two burnouts in. Yeah, dude, that'll do that to you. So, when you're trying to force getting better, that's always going to lead to burnout. I feel the best way to learn if you don't actually have an actual deadline, it's just to do it organically. Do things because you find them fun, not because you're trying to make a business out of them, and not because you're trying to explore different business avenues, or because you want to learn a specific tool set because you would like to get a job in a specific area. If you do things because you want to do them, it will be the same as playing a game, right? I've never heard of someone getting burned out because they're just playing whatever game they want to play. They might get burned out because they're overplaying a game even when they don't want to play the game. But not because they're playing a game that they like to play. I'm black, I have a mini afro, so I guess I don't understand your struggle. I've never had an afro, so I don't understand the you know. But yeah, in my case, my hair has a lot of weight. Yeah, maybe I can move the head back a little bit. Okay, I need to start adding a few things here. So extras, to quick favorite, wireframe, bones as well. Wireframe. Where's wireframe? Wireframe. Right. So let's go for express. It's up here. I don't think we need to turn anything into a pissing contest. All right, I think I'm gonna call the 3D process here and continue tomorrow with this. And originally, I wanted to do a little bit of Overwatch on stream, but it's been 3 hours and I'm a little bit tired. So I'm probably gonna chill for a bit before jumping into that. I don't know. I'm gonna get going. Will it's not appeasing content. I'm just saying I don't relate. I mean, when you say your struggles are not the same, it sounds like your struggles are worse. It's just the vibes that that phrase tends to give out. Just so you know, if it wasn't your intention, it's okay. Just thought I'd mention just in case. You know. You know, if I like, let me put it another way, right? If you're saying that, you know, you say that you're black. If I say, you know, I'm white, it's like, dude, you're black, I'm white. Our struggles are not the same. It sounds a little bit condescending. It might be just me though. So again, I just said it just in case. That time period was a long time ago. No, that's good. That's good. I mean, burnout. The good thing about burnout is that it's not eternal. It's not. You know, eventually it goes away. It's just annoying having to deal with it while in the middle of it. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. Um. All right. I'm gonna get going. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Thank you so much for the company, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye bye. Tomorrow we might do pre-top on these. And yeah, peace out. Thanks for the company. Stay safe. And all of those nice things. Bye. Thank you for being here.